What is going on, everybody? I hope everyone is having a great night because why would it not be after the Sixers catch a nice W against the Pacers tonight? I'm Justin. I'm here with my boy, Tiago. Listen, we're without Dibes tonight, but we're going to get this post-game show rolling for the Sixers and Pacers. Tiago, how you doing tonight?
There's the comment in the chat that says it all. Is this the same team we watched on Saturday night? What was that? We
Yeah,
talked
for real.
about the game after Cleveland. I'm like, listen, if they're gonna play like this against Indiana and Utah, I have no problems in taking the night off against Cleveland. This was about as good as a performance as we've seen from a very underhanded Sixers team. So it was interesting to see them pull them out. Without Tobias Harris in that lineup, I thought they would have a tougher time tonight.
Yeah, I mean, in the fact that we went from scoring 22 bench points to 67 is really the biggest difference right there in this game. In my opinion, is the fact that our bench was able to come out and produce. Guys like Milton, Furkan Korkmaz was hitting tonight. Like it was just seemed like everything was working. So like realistically, what are your top takeaways from tonight's game?
Yeah, I've been really down on Shake the last couple of weeks, right? And rightfully so, because let's be honest, like Shake hasn't played particularly well on both ends of the floor. And I thought that tonight was probably his best game of the year, I would say. If not up there with some of his better games early in the year. And I thought that it all started like with him on the ball and not only, making shots, which, we know he can do. Like he's a shot maker in his own regard. So, that part of this game, I'm not really particularly concerned, but it's the ability to really, connect with his teammates and make the right passes. And I thought that for the most part in that first to second quarter run, when the Sixers really kind of took off, it was really Shake Milton making a lot of plays, identifying where the shooters were, playing off the pick and roll. Check again how many turnovers he had. I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah, those 2 turnovers in 30 minutes. I mean, that shows you kind of the kind of game that he had. Played a lot in the control, played better defensively. Again, it wasn't perfect. He's the kind of guy who tends to sleep a lot on cuts and whatnot, but I thought that the whole game really started there when Joel and Ben were sitting, and kind of took off from there when the two came back on the court.
And can we talk about Mike Scott a little bit? Can we talk about Mike Scott? Mike Scott, 11 points, 4 for 4 from the field with 4 rebounds and 4 steals. Like, I think we need to show this man some love. Like, all of a sudden, he comes out of nowhere. He was. I mean, mind you, he was hurt for a while. He was out of the lineup for a while while trying to get back to 100%. I mean, he's hitting the shots right now. Like, I don't. And mind you, Furkan was also hitting the shots. So like, are we calling this a game that they just had a good game and this is going to be something that's just today, or should we start expecting this kind of stuff from these guys?
From Scott, no. What has he has shown this 2 years with the Sixers that he can keep this kind of consistency over the stretch of a long year? For me, I'm very skeptical. I will say this though: if he somehow figures out his shot in a more consistent manner, there is a world where he can play him over like Dwight Howard, right? A little bit. I'm not saying for the whole game, but that would be huge for the Sixers because you're adding that stretch element that they sorely need off the bench. So you take the 4 for 4, right? 4 for 4 night from him from deep.
Yep, 4 for 4.
Right, and he's really there to hit open shots. That's what he does, and that's what he's there getting paid to do. So give him props to that. But I thought that Korkmaz was really the man. And now again, going back to the second quarter, I mean. And we can even go back a little bit before that. It really starts with, Embiid making the absolute perfect reads off double teams. I thought that in that run where they kind of took off the game, it was Embiid, playing perfectly into what Indiana was trying to get him to do, which react to those double teams and throw into traffic and turn the ball over. Embiid had perfect reads every single time, and it really started there. The Mike Scott, Korkmaz kind of show.
And that's the biggest thing I think that you can notice throughout this season is that Embiid. That's to me is the big difference from him from this year to past years in the league. Is that when it comes to double teams or when it comes to him in the paint, he's able to read defenses a lot easier and get the ball to open shooters a lot easier. So, and that like you said, that makes such a difference for not only the percentage and how good of a look our shooters are getting, but also for the offense's all around play. So I can't disagree with that at all. And the fact that Embiid only had to play 26 minutes tonight, I think that should be a discussion right there. The fact that he only had to play 26 minutes, got 24 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists on 10 to 17 shooting, like it's always a good night. It's always a good night when your boy can take some time on the bench. That's huge.
I just want to point on that we talked about with Embiid, because I wrote about that a couple weeks ago, and I focused particularly on the Sacramento game, right? So that was the game where Sacramento was throwing the entire house at him. So they had Bagley, they had Rashawn, they had Hassan Whiteside. That they were throwing everything at him, double teams, triple teams, and you started seeing like a very composed Embiid, and most importantly, like he was making precise, quick reads. So it's not just, okay, I'm going to field the double team and throw the ball across the court. It's making that precise pass. So when Seth Curry catches the ball, or when Danny Green catches the ball, it's a quick catch and release. There's no added motion beyond that. And he was able also to find Tobias in cuts. So, his ability to really work on passing off double teams is really starting to pay off. The numbers may not show that. There still may be people point to a high turnover rate off double teams. It's not perfect all the time, but when he's on, you really see the improvements that he's made as a passer. So.
No, I can definitely agree with that. And I honestly have always thought Embiid has been a good passer. I just think it's the decision-making has been the issue. He's always been capable of making the passes. It's just a matter of when and how. Right, and the biggest thing you notice in the double teams is not only is he making right decisions, but he's being so patient with where he's bringing the ball. Before, even last year, you'd see him try to dribble around and like try to get away from the double team. Yeah. Now he embraces it, gets to the ball with two hands, tries to get through people and get it to where it needs to go. And that's where you see the more efficiency coming from a guy like him. And that's just huge for your big man who's a capable scorer, but also now a capable passer. So one thing I want to talk about a little bit is Ben Simmons tonight. I want to talk about Ben Simmons. What did you think about his game tonight?
I thought it was solid, and again, I'll focus like early in the game, because I thought that for the first quarter, really the focus was to get early in the shot clock and get offense early. Indiana is a pretty good defense. They have a great rim protector. They have two anchors down low, and they have guys on the perimeter that can make it tough on you. So I thought the focus early by Doc was to get offense early in the shot clock. Yeah, and I thought he was really successful doing that. So I think he had between 8 to 10 points early in the game, which again is playing off misses, getting to the heart of the lane, kicking it out if you need to, finishing at the rim, which he's been doing at a much accurate frequency here in the last couple of months. Yeah. So I thought that, man, he needed to do what he needed to do, which is, listen, when you're asked to run the ship and run effectively, do that. And I think that defensively, Indiana doesn't necessarily provide a big threat for him in the perimeter. I mean, you look at Brogdon, right? That's the main kind of guy you have to focus on.
You also have McDermott as well.
Right, but in terms of like a guy who can attack, the defense and really draw attention, Brogdon is really the only guy, and he's not that explosive. So, for Ben in that situation, it's really about staying in front of him and not, getting baited into cheap fouls. And I thought that,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I thought that Ben did that with Brogdon. Like, Brogdon's not kind of guy who's going to, beat him off the dribble on every single trip down the court like a De'Aaron Fox or something like that, right?
Yeah. And something that you notice with Brogdon is, although he's not super explosive, super athletic, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Shake in a way where he doesn't change. He's the way he plays, it's a change of pace rather than a super explosive move. It's the stutter step, like quick stop and then go. Like that. That's right. To me. It Shake and him are similar in that aspect, in my opinion. But yeah, so I personally like watching Ben go at them early. This game was really impressive to me. Now, mind you, I think it's more impressive to me just because we haven't seen that as much until this year. So you love to see that, in my opinion. Another thing I want to touch on, and another guy in the starting lineup who had a really rough game last game. I think he went 1 for 13, and that is our man Seth Curry. One thing I love that Doc Rivers did is early in the game, he ran like two or three straight plays for him early. Yeah. Like you can tell they really wanted to get him involved and get that bad game out of his head early in the game. So what are your thoughts on Seth Curry's play tonight after the stinker he put up yesterday or 2 days ago?
I'm not too worried about Seth Curry because I think, his thing's about, getting back into shape. It's how this COVID kind of had an impact on him. It's pretty clear.
Yeah.
It's about getting in shape and getting back to, his 3-point shooting volume. Not so much the makes, because I think the makes are going to be there, but it's about getting back to that 4, 5, 6 attempts per game from long distance. So tonight, look at the box score. You only had 3, right? Given, like, you didn't have to play a lot tonight, so it's not a very fair comparison. But when I dove into Seth Curry's game, so I looked at before COVID and after COVID, right? So he played between eight games or so before COVID, and he was he was ranked 9th in the NBA in 3-point makes before COVID, and it was a lot of stuff around, like, bend, drive, kick, boom, transition, quick pass, boom, and Embiid gets double, quick swing pass, boom. So it was a lot of quick hitting actions. And I think that when I looked at the numbers in more detail, like about 40-some% of his 3-point attempts were off 0 dribbles.
Yeah.
Now fast forward to post-COVID. So he's now 101st in the NBA in 3-point makes. So he goes from 9th to 101st. So you see the gap between attempts and makes from before and after. And then again,
I think some of that has to do with him being out with COVID for a while. So, like,
right. But again, just to finish up that point is, when I dove into more details, he's taking less shots in transition. He's taking less shots off 0 dribbles. So he's not taking additional dribble and shooting. So it tells me a couple of things. First and foremost is he's probably tired. His legs are not under him to catch up to bend these guys in transition. And second of all is the Sixers not moving the ball as well, because if you're getting that ball movement started, he's going to end up with a quick open look and a quick, shot off the catch. So I think that if the Sixers get back to those two things, Curry's going to be fine. And, as long as he's not going like 1 for 13, which happened in Cleveland, I think I worry more about Danny Green than I do with Seth Curry. I'll tell you that.
Offensively, I can definitely agree with that. I'm one of the people who Seth Curry doesn't worry me too much, like you. I think he just had a bad game, and I think he has slowly been getting a little bit better about, like, finding positions to shoot, and ever since he got back from having COVID and like suffering a little bit conditioning wise. So I'm not that worried about him. I think he will catch up to himself, and they'll catch up to this offense, because this offense is really perfect for him, realistically. Having a big man down there who can get him open on the outside is just amazing for that guy. Is there any, like, other players specifically you want to talk about before we get into just grades and just how we feel about today?
Well, I want to talk about the Pacers because
go ahead.
Sabonis is an all-star, right? And Miles Turner gets talked about in the Defensive Player of the Year category. And I don't know, maybe somebody in the chat can chime in. I don't know how you can watch this game today and think that Sabonis should be an all-star, and Miles Turner is the same wavelength as Embiid and Simmons as a Defensive Player of the Year.
So I will say I do understand the thought process of Sabonis being an all-star, just because he really, like, he is a very good post player for his size. Especially, I saw a few plays this game where he was going at Embiid, and it was really impressive to me. And I've seen him do that at both times we played them so far this year. Just the first time it was when the other time we played him, Embiid wasn't playing, and it was Ben that was guarding him, and he was still giving him some buckets at some time. So, because really the only thing that ended up stopping him from getting buckets last time we played was when we went into the zone. And it's hard to score inside in the zone in that case. So it's again,
I think about, like, the guys who were left off the All-Star, right? So, like, Bam, like, if you're starting a team, would you pick Sabonis over Bam?
No. I mean,
Sabonis is a traffic cone on defense. So, and then you got Miles Turner, a lot to say the first time they met. Got embarrassed the first time. He shows up again tonight. You could run a 5-minute highlight reel of Turner getting absolutely embarrassed by Embiid. At one point, Shake shook him off the dribble and put him on his butt. So,
I saw that. Speaking of Miles Turner, I can appreciate. Hold on, where'd it go? I can appreciate why is this not working? All right, we're just gonna have to look at it this way. 1 second. No, there was a tweet that Austin put out. Austin Krell, our NBA beat reporter for the Painted Lions, that he put out that Embiid said during his post-game presser, and it says It's the middle one here. Joel Embiid on Miles Turner. I say this respectfully, but that's a matchup I've dominated since I got to the league. So and it's funny and it makes sense why he says it. It's kind of funny in some ways because he said, like, Miles came out last time that we played, the Sixers played the Pacers, and said how he believes he should be in these kind of conversations along with Embiid, and it's shown day in and day out that that's just not true. Asked Joel Embiid about his play against Miles and Miles Turner in the comments Turner made before the first game between the teams this season, and he says, "I respectfully that's a matchup with Dallas." Like but that shouldn't surprise anybody. That shouldn't surprise anybody.
Yeah, but here's the thing: like, the kid's a good defensive player, right? So there's obviously value behind rim protection, and he's a great rim protector. But and Embiid is a tough matchup. I mean, Embiid, we know what Embiid is.
Pure size wise, it's a tough matchup for Miles Turner to get. And to be honest with you, when I see Miles Turner, like the way they play defense with him, it kind of reminds me of how Giannis plays the weak side defense and gets blocks going that way. Like that's what it reminds me of. It's not the on ball, it's the off ball.
But here's where like I lose a little bit on Turner because like he's an agile player. So you know he doesn't have the bulk that Joel does, but he's agile. Yeah. And a couple of times tonight I saw Embiid just kind of blow right by him. And I'm like, at that point, man, like you serve no purpose against Joel because theoretically you should like keep him from trying to get to the heart of that restricted area, just your quickness. So I don't know, man. Like, good for the kid, but there's way too much hype around Miles Turner right now.
I get it. I thought the same thing in a lot of aspects, and it's laughable to me because it's just like I don't think I've watched a matchup where Embiid has had any trouble with Miles Turner ever. So I get it. Like Miles Turner is not a bad player. It's just you can't put yourself in the same conversation as Embiid because it's just not true. Yeah. Anyway, let's get into the grades and our players of the game. So ultimately today, who was your player of the game?
I mean, I go back to what I talked about early in the podcast. I think that, the Sixers need a bench performance, a consistent bench performance that they can say, okay, I can take this guy and I can trust to give this guy between 10 to 12 minutes in the postseason. So when I look at what that looks like right now, I look at Matisse based on defense alone. He's playing great defense. That guy's going to get postseason minutes. And then, man, there's not much else behind that. And I thought that Shake kind of announced himself a little bit today to say, I'm still here. Maybe that ankle is a little more.
Allow me to reintroduce myself.
Right. Right. And it would be nice to see him shoot the ball better from long distance. I think he's shooting, 33%. I'm hopeful that number is going to go up. I think he's a better shooter than that.
Yeah.
But it's about making the right decisions when you're on the ball. Doc does not have Maxey running as much on the ball stuff anymore. So it's really on Shake. And when Tobias comes back, Tobias to run that second unit. So it was good to see him make the right decisions, not turn the ball over and add to the scoring tonight.
Yeah, and my player of the game, and I kind of agree with Ben here. My guy is Embiid. Embiid tonight with 24 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists on a 10-17 shooting night. He had those 24 points in 26 minutes. So you really this guy just keeps impressing you every single time he plays. I mean, he is just a certified bucket. He is the leader of this offense, and you just can see every single game how much more efficient he has made this offense. And it's just amazing to watch that guy play, and the fact that teams will be throwing 3 dudes at him and they still can't stop him. And it's even more so when you have guys hitting shots to the outside. And we've been talking about that a lot, but that really is the key there. And that's why this video is Sixers bench coming back. Or I don't even remember what I named it. Sixers bench something. I said Sixers bench coming back to life or some shit like that. But my point with that is that's the big difference there. Those role players and bench players that are shooting from 3 when Embiid's on the court, or Simmons is on the court in the post, that is the key to this team winning games. And that is what we saw tonight. So my player is going to be Embiid for the player of the game. Do you have any other takeaways before we get into grades?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of every game we do. There's a lot of Korkmaz chatter in the chat. It's either like the guy's great or the guy's absolutely terrible. He's like the most polarizing player in the Sixers.
Yeah, we got a lot of comments in here that I didn't even know what to bring up. But like he's it's it's always interesting when Furkan has a good game, and it's always interesting when Furkan has a bad game. And this is one of those cases where he had a good game, and it's one of those things. It's once again, I've said this a few times, but Furkan is not a bad player. He's not. He's just streaky and he's inconsistent. That's simple. And he's like just about any other bench role player in the league. Every once in a while, he's got a good game in him, and other times he doesn't. It's just. And Nadir, you're right here. If bench players were consistent, they would be starters, and that's true. And that's why Korkmaz is a bench piece. What's tough is on a team where 3-point shooting is so important and the role players are so important with their 3-point shooting. It's tough when those guys are not hitting their shots. So and that's where Korkmaz, I think, gets so much hate because they get so many open looks at three and he's still missing. So it's tough.
Yeah. 3-point shooters are always going to get hate, especially like with a fan base that lives and dies with every game. And we saw that with Robert Covington, right? So Robert Covington, good player, again, not an all-star, but a good player. But, he would have the, 1 for 9 kind of nights. And it would be like Armageddon those nights, right? Why is Robert Covington shooting nine times a game? So Korkmaz fits in that mold. And again, the guy's getting paid like $1 million a year. Yeah. So the fact that you can put him on the court for 5 to 10 minutes is already a win, regardless.
I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with you on that one.
Yeah. So.
And so this is an interesting comment from Jonathan right before we get into grades. Am I the only one who thinks Matisse is going to make a major jump on offense next season? He seems to have been working on his dribble drives. Yeah, I definitely see that as well. Like I see he definitely has worked on his driving, but I don't know if it's as much working on it that is maybe see it. I think it's the fact that he's getting those opportunities. And last year he was pretty much just a stand in the corner kind of guy or stand at the hash mark kind of guy. Now he's getting more opportunities to roll around screens and roll towards the rim. So I think it's also not just him working on it, but the fact that the offense is giving him some chances to get some looks in that respect. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually wrote about that this week. So
yeah,
we look at Matisse under the framework of like a 3-and-D player, right? The guy plays defense and shoots 3-point shots. And I think to the point that he was trying to make is that we need to look at Matisse a little bit differently. And I dove into the numbers. I looked at a specific player in Brooklyn, right? So the player's name is Bruce Brown, similar player, all defense, can't shoot the ball to save his life. But the way that Brooklyn utilizes him is a lot more on cuts and a lot less on 3-point attempts. And Matisse is the exact opposite. Matisse is being used a lot on 3-point shots and not so much on cuts. So when you look at Matisse as a cutter, like I looked at last year's numbers, very limited sample size, right? Like you're saying, like he's mostly still 3-point shooter, but in the limited sample size, he was one of the best cutters in the NBA in terms of efficiency. Again, long strides, length, speed. He can get to the rim easily and extend to the basket. So to his point, I think that the Sixers should be using him more in cuts and less as a 3-point shooter. And I think if they do that, they can really squeeze more offensive value from him because defensively, he has been playing at an absolutely insane level this year. So,
no, I cannot disagree with you at all on that. I completely agree. His defense has been ridiculous, and I agree. I think he's very valuable when cutting to the rim. Mm-hmm. I think the reason in most cases why they have him out there is just because most of the time, especially last year, they didn't have any 3-point shooters that could stand out there. Yeah. I think that's more why. But yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. So let's get into grades of the game. So ultimately, what would you grade this W as?
I mean, this is a across the board, but I'm excited for Wednesday because I think Wednesday is a good test, and I think that the Sixers will probably have Tobias back, Ben, Joel, the whole gang, and Utah. Man, I mean, you saw what they did to the Lakers a couple days ago. They're playing probably the best basketball in the NBA, if not within the Brooklyn, probably up there as well. But I think this is a great test for the Sixers to really kind of establish their baseline going to the second half of the year. And I'm hopeful they come back and really show what they're about because that game early in the year without Joel, like they still showed a lot. And I think they had Joel that night, they could have probably pulled that out. So I'm really excited for that game on Wednesday. I think it's going to be a great test for the Sixers to finish off the first half.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's pretty likely that Tobias will play after seeing this tweet from Austin Krell. He said Doc Rivers hopes to have Harris back on Wednesday, says that Harris pushed to play tonight, but the team held him out. So that's a good sign, obviously, that he was at least probably able to play tonight, but he just wasn't at 100% or wasn't at 80%, so they said no. So obviously that's a good sign, and we probably will end up seeing him on Wednesday against the Utah Jazz. So guys, make sure you come back to this channel for the post game of that, because I'm sure we'll be on here for that. Not sure about the watch party yet, but we'll let you guys know. Ben Butler says he has this game graded as an A as well. He's with you on that one. I'm gonna say A plus, to be honest, for me personally, because I don't think you can get any better than this. Just purely the fact that Embiid and Simmons got out of this game real early, didn't even have to play 30 minutes tonight, is huge to me, especially because Tobias is out. So usually when Tobias is out, these games are closer and they have to play more minutes. So obviously perfect that they were able to sit out more, and also the fact that the bench killed it tonight, 67 points, which is ridiculously above their average. I think their average is around like 40 something. So that's awesome, obviously. Can't be mad about that. But yeah, so do you have any other thoughts before we get into plugs?
Nah, just your thoughts overall on like just the first half of the year, because I think I give this team a solid B plus. I think that when you factor in, the changes, COVID, what Ben and Joel, we're working with coming to this year in terms of new players and new personnel, I think they put together a pretty good, strong first half of the year. So overall, I think it's been a positive start to the season.
Yeah, I think my opinion on that is pretty similar. Overall, pretty positive start. Obviously, it was tough because with COVID. I think honestly, if COVID didn't affect the team, I think we'd have more wins right now.
Yeah.
It's tough with some of the injuries that happened with our bench and making the bench a little iffy for a little bit. So obviously the bench is still iffy, but it was worse before when Shake was out and Seth was out as well. Overall though, I would definitely grade like a B plus, A minus early, and I'm saying that because I'm sometimes a little picky. We are still first in the Eastern Conference, so I can't really say much about this team. So ultimately though, guys, Tiago, you got any plugs?
I talked about it in the podcast. It's just that piece on Matisse. So if you understand the numbers and what I'm talking about, check that out on thepaintedlines.com.
Yeah, definitely go check out thepaintedlines.com. All kinds of articles there from not only Tiago, but a bunch of other guys about basketball, football. The Phillies are starting up, so I'm sure we're going to get some articles out there about the MLB. Plugs for myself. Go follow me on Twitter at @J_Persichetti. Any Blue Coat stuff you guys want to hear, I'm covering them all the time for the beat for the Painted Lines. So any press conferences, anything like that will be out there. Isaiah Joe, Sixers rookie, is going to be playing down with the Blue Coats.
How was the game tonight?
Game was good. They kicked ass earlier, so good game for them. Good game for them. So yeah, if you guys want to, what's up?
Paul Reed game? Another Paul Reed game?
Paul Reed played well, but it was actually more role players and Rajon Tucker that really got the job done tonight or today at 3 p.m. So they played G League Ignite, so they played Jalen Green and all those dudes. So they came in with the W. But we're gonna end this. We're gonna get out of here. We already outstayed our welcomes. We're at 28 minutes on this thing. So guys, if you haven't already, drop a like. We'd really appreciate that. Comment. Once this video is over, comment in the video, comment some W's, comment some Embiid MVPs, whatever you guys want to do. And follow us on all social medias. We will see you guys next time. Peace.